The NFL draft is a place where football dreams become a reality. Prospects spend years playing in the sport they love, and they finally get to take it all in when they hear their name called by the NFL commissioner himself. We have seen so many talented football players that make an immediate impact for their NFL squad, but some may not turn out to be the player that their team hoped them to be. In the NFL, the draft is one of the best ways to improve a team. Whether it's drafting a position of need or the best player available, teams approach the draft with different strategies. And with your favorite team up on the clock, I'm sure you're wondering, who will they pick? Hello everybody, my name is Anish Gupta and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast, bringing you the cold hard truth on everything football. With the draft fast approaching, I figured I'd simulate a quick first round mock draft with trades so that you could see who your favorite team will land. Now, quick disclaimer, this is a mix of what I think a team should do and what I think will happen. There are definitely some surprises, so stay tuned if you want to see some interesting move-ups and some shocking selections. If videos like these interest you, please consider liking and subscribing down below. It only takes a couple seconds of your time. And while you're down there, feel free to turn on the post notification bell so you won't miss out on football content like this. So without further ado, here is my first round mock for the 2021 NFL Draft. So to get started with this mock draft, I did it via PFF Pro Football Focus. If you guys want to do your own type of draft, do it on PFF Mock Draft Simulator on Google. Just search that up and you shall be on your way. Now, with this draft, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show a couple picks and then explain why I have chose that certain prospect. So as you can see, the first three picks have already been revealed, and I'll go into a little bit of detail on why I chose them. So at pick 1, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence. And obviously, it's a surefire bet here. He's got elite size, elite athleticism, and play traits, and he can run and throw at an exceptional level. And Urban Meyer gets his guy to be the quote-unquote franchise saver. Some say he's the best prospect since Andrew Luck, and I wouldn't fault him for saying that. So we got Trevor Lawrence down there. Now we move on to pick 2, and the New York Jets will take quarterback Zach Wilson out of BYU. For me, he's like a more mobile Baker Mayfield, and he can throw it anywhere down the field. He's got great velocity and great accuracy, and I think this is the guy that you want in New York. It's going to be a little bit tougher, going from a small market to a big market, but I think Zach Wilson is the guy here. Now, at number 3, obviously, we know the San Francisco 49ers traded up with the Miami Dolphins from 12 to 3. They gave up a lot for it, so we all know that they're taking a quarterback. But the question is it going to be Justin Fields? Is it going to be Mac Jones? Now, I can't stand them taking Mac Jones here. They got to take Justin Fields, a guy who can adapt to a Kyle Shanahan system, who doesn't necessarily need to start right away. They could throw Jimmy G right away and have him learn for a year, have him sit, learn the system. Shanahan's system is pretty complicated, a lot of, short passing schemes. But I think Justin Fields would be great for it. He'd be one of the first mobile quarterbacks that Kyle Shanahan has had since RG3. And I think Justin Fields, a guy with great size, who's willing to do whatever it takes on any play. I think that's what I really like about him. He's got a firm, steady base, and he's got a confident aura about him, that kind of swagger that you would love to have for your NFL team. So now that we go to the 4th pick, now you see it is not the Atlanta Falcons, it is the Denver Broncos. Now I wanted to pause on this pick really quick because this is the first trade that I have in my mock draft simulation. Now I have obviously the Broncos and the Falcons doing a trade here. I have the Broncos giving 2 firsts, obviously their 9th pick this year, and then their 2022 first round pick, a 3rd round pick this year, and a 7th for the Falcons' 1st round pick, which is the 4th overall selection, and a Falcons 5th. So that is the trade I did via PFF. And what I have the Broncos doing is selecting North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance. Now, Trey Lance is a bit of a project. He hasn't played since 2019. And that one game he played his senior year, he had 1 touchdown and 2 picks. It wasn't the best game. But again, he had no turnovers that full year. I believe it was his junior year in 2019. So the Broncos are basically taking a project here, but again, similar to Justin Fields, Trey Lance doesn't necessarily have to start his first year. Drew Lock can kind of get that quote-unquote make or break year, and whether he does well or not, Trey Lance can kind of come in. And yes, it creates a little bit of a QB controversy, but for Denver, they are starving for that guy. I've said this before, they really haven't replaced Peyton Manning, and who knows, Trey Lance could potentially be that guy. So now I'll scroll down a little bit more. We'll go to pick 7. So at pick 5, we got obviously Penei Sewell. I was torn between Sewell and Chase, and I know a lot of Bengals fans are. And this was one of the first picks where I was like, okay, this is what I would do if I was Cincinnati. You cannot pass up a tackle like this. This is a generational type of offensive lineman. He is an exceptionally gifted athlete. He's an elite second level blocker, and he redirects the rush and pass protection, which is what a guy like Joe Burrow needs. And I love T. Higgins. I love Tyler Boyd, as we did in our podcast mock draft. I love those two guys. I think both of them are exceptional outside wide receivers. So I just don't think a Jamar Chase will really fill that void versus what Sewell could do for that offensive line. I think it also takes some pressure off Jonah Williams, a guy that they drafted a couple of years back, who's been battling some injuries. So you got to go with Penei Sewell here if I am the Cincinnati Bengals. Now at pick 6, Miami. There are some thoughts about Miami actually trading back again, but I think what they're going to do is stick at 6 and take Kyle Pitts. Now, I'm not a fan of taking a tight end this early. I've said this 100 times, but Kyle Pitts has just been growing on me more and more, especially with his pro day. He's a 3-level pass catcher. He's amazing off the line of scrimmage. He's one of the most rare combinations I've seen of size, speed, and athleticism. And, his 6'6" frame, I think he ran a sub 4.40. I mean, that's just incredible. And he would make this offense so much more dynamic. And it would give a security blanket for Tua Tagovailoa, who they are going to stick with this upcoming season. So Kyle Pitts at number 6. Now at number 7, Jamar Chase to the Detroit Lions. Now for the Detroit Lions, obviously you get a new quarterback in Jared Goff, and you got to find weapons to give him because you lost Kenny Golladay, you lost Marvin Jones. So, Jamar Chase is the best pick here, I think. Out of all the receivers, he's subtle, he's explosive, and he had 8 50-plus yard touchdowns in one season. That is just incredible. He can get separation so easily, and I think for the Lions, that is what you need. This is probably the guy that I think would make the easiest transition to being a number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. So let's go scroll down. Obviously, you can see the trade that I simulated with the Broncos and the Falcons. So at pick 8, we're going to go with the Carolina Panthers here. And yes, I know you see the DPFF grade, but I don't think they've registered the Darnold trade yet. So I think that's why they were hoping the Panthers would select a quarterback in this. But I said no. I said Rashawn Slater, the tackle out of Northwestern, who can play both tackle spots. He's an excellent contact blocker. He's got great balance and footwork, and I think he's very fluid, especially in the run game. Yes, he does need a little bit work on pass protection, but he did hold up against Chase Young, and that's what a lot of people are using for why he should be a top 10 pick. But Rashawn Slater, I think, would finally give, this Panthers team another tackle opposite of Taylor Moton. I think Russell Okung is still getting a little bit up there in age as well. And Sam Darnold needs as much protection as he can get. You could put Slater at guard, actually. So this would be a really good move for the Panthers here. Don't understand the PFF grade, but hey, whatever. And now at number 9, the Falcons, who trade back in the simulation, will take cornerback from Alabama, Patrick Surtain, who I think we can all agree now is the best corner in this draft after what happened and transpired with Caleb Farley. He's got elite athleticism and build. He's very good at recognizing routes, and he's got long strides, and he can really cover at all 3 levels. That's what I really liked about him when watching his game. And I think Patrick Surtain here finally gives that guy that, the Falcons have lacked since maybe, a prime Desmond Trufant. I mean, it's been a while since the Falcons have had a number 1 corner. So this would be a really good pickup for them. Now at number 10, this is the second trade that I have in my simulation. And basically the details where I was thinking of was the Patriots would trade up with the Dallas Cowboys. Now the rumors that the Cowboys really just wanted to stay here. They're not going to trade up to get Kyle Pitts, even though, a lot of people have said that's what the Cowboys want. But I have the Cowboys actually trading back in this simulation because what the Patriots are offering them here is a first-round pick, obviously their 15th overall selection, a second-round pick, and a 7th for the Cowboys' first and their 7th-round pick. And maybe a couple players might be included in that. PFF wouldn't let me include players, so I'm sure the Pats might add another player in there. But you can see already with the 10th overall selection, the New England Patriots will take quarterback Mac Jones out of Alabama. And he's got great slides in the pocket. I did a scouting report on him. He's very accurate on placement throws, and he just gives me that Patriots QB type of vibe. So I really like, Mac Jones to New England. I've always kind of liked it. I think he, just fits that type of build that we've seen with Tom Brady. They've actually got really similar throwing releases, in my opinion. So Mac Jones at number 10. Now, if we scroll down here, 2 more picks, we're going to go with Devontae Smith for the New York Giants, wide receiver out of Alabama. Now, I know there are other glaring needs that the Giants might need, and I know some Giants fans in the comments might be mad at me for this selection, But how can you pass up Devontae Smith here, a guy who can, give Daniel Jones another target, another guy outside, along with Kenny Golladay. He's by far the best route runner in this class. He can run, on the inside or in the slot, and that actually gives him a lot of versatility with Sterling Shepard. He's got elite body control in the air for his size. Now, we all know the concerns. He's 6', 166, but route running translates really well in the NFL, and Devontae Smith had one of the best wide receiver seasons of all time in college football. So I think the Giants got to take him there. Now, at number 12, Philadelphia, I know you guys are thinking there's another receiver on the board, another Alabama receiver, but I think Philly, I said this in my Parsons JOK vid a lot in the comments. People were asking me, where is Parsons going to go in this whole top 15? Is he going to go, slide like I thought he would? I don't think he's going to slide. I think he's going to go at number 12 in the simulation to Philadelphia. I know there's some character issues, but I think a lot of them are blown out of the proportion. Micah Parsons got elite range, sideline to sideline closer. He's one of the best blitzers I've seen for a linebacker. And again, he's an excellent tackler. And I think, Philadelphia had the worst linebacking core in the league last year. It was by far the worst. Injuries kind of derailed them, but they just weren't good in terms of pass coverage and as tacklers. And Micah Parsons would fix a lot of that. Now, he doesn't have to be the quarterback of this defense, but he's a great plug-in guy, can immediately start for your team and make it better. Now, here's my third trade. You don't see the Chargers at 13. You actually see the Raiders. Now, this is one of the most rare things you would see, but it's a division trade. An interdivision trade between the Raiders and the Chargers, and the Raiders move up from 17 to 13. Now, there were reports that the Raiders wanted to move up if there was a receiver that was kind of sliding. And you see the receiver I have down there, Jalen Waddle, who isn't necessarily sliding, but he's available at 13, and the Raiders give up a decent amount. I have the Raiders giving up a first-round pick, a third-round pick, and a player, Nicholas Morrow, for example. And I have the Chargers, moving back to 17, giving them a fifth-round pick in return as well. So the, final trade would be a Raiders first, a Raiders third, and Nicholas Morrow for a Chargers first-round pick and a Chargers fifth-round pick. And with the 13th overall selection, the Raiders will take Jalen Waddle, a guy who, one of the best, guys after the catch I've seen. He can switch gears on a route anytime. He's got breakaway speed. And he had, Jamar Chase had 8 50-yard touchdowns. This dude had 11 out of his 20 touchdowns in college be from 50-plus yards. He is just incredible. And now those are the top 3 receivers off the board through the first 13 picks. Now, as we go down, we're going to go here to pick 16. Now at pick 14, we're going to go with Elijah Vera-Tucker. I think that's the guy that Minnesota always really wanted. I think it's, you need offensive line for a guy like Kirk Cousins. And this is one of the best pass protectors in the draft. I could honestly argue he's better in pass protection than Rashawn Slater. But Elijah Vera-Tucker, 6'4", 308 pounds, powerful hands, and he is a forceful pass blocker with natural strength. So they take the tackle out of USC, help out Kirk Cousins, help out Dalvin Cook, and help out this young receiving core, making it a little bit more time for those plays to develop down in Minnesota or up in Minnesota. Now at pick 15, the Dallas Cowboys, who have traded back, and as you can see the trade details over there, the Dallas Cowboys with the 15th pick will take cornerback J.C. Horn out of South Carolina. Now, I've seen a lot of Cowboy fans hype up J.C. Horn. They're really, really liking him, and I do too. I think he's exceptional in man coverage, and only one receiver had over 50 yards against him in his entire college career, and that was Devontae Smith. So, give him a little bit pass for it maybe, but J.C. Horn is just exceptional, and he can play a variety of coverage schemes, and you finally get your number one corner, I guess, in Dallas, and it will also help Trevon Diggs, who is, kind of still getting his feet wet. Maybe not a number one corner, but a number 2 corner in Trevon Diggs would be very, very good. Now, at pick 16, this is also one of my surprising selections, the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I know there's a guy in, Christian Barmore, who is down there, right? One of the best defensive tackles, and that's a kind of a need that the Cardinals have. But when Patrick Peterson just left, I know you have Byron Murphy. I know you got Budda Baker in the safety spot, but Caleb Farley right there, I think they take him. I think he's an excellent tracker of the football, great closeout speed. He stays in phase during press coverage. And the Cardinals can take a chance here because I think they've got a lot of pieces that they added to this defense, and their offense has got a lot of firepower. I think they can kind of slow down on the whole offensive focus on this draft. They can definitely do that later in rounds. But Caleb Farley right here would be just an amazing addition if he pans out. And I think it's less of a risk than people think. I think he's got a lot of time to really get his body right. Obviously, just got out of back surgery, but there's a lot of time for him to get his body right for this upcoming NFL season. So Caleb Farley is my 16th overall selection. And we're going to go down here, and you see the Chargers with pick 17. I think they take their guy that they were originally going to take at pick 13, and that is Christian Darrisaw, tackle out of Virginia Tech. He's got a big frame. He's 6'5", 322. He played really well against star pass rusher Brian Burns his first year starting. He's very smooth, he's very agile, and he's extremely good with his feet and hands. He needs to finish blocks a bit better because of his low stamina, but this is another guy that will add firepower to the offensive line. He's got to protect that young guy, Justin Herbert, and it'll just let plays develop. Now at pick 18, there is another trade, and you see my Browns up there. I know it's a little bit of a biased trade, but I see Washington at 19. I know they have a glaring need at linebacker, but that gives the Browns the opportunity to trade up with Miami to get Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, one of the best linebackers in this draft. I think he's, clear-cut second. You could argue first. Now, the trade details that I have on this one is I have the Browns giving up a first-round pick, one of their third-round picks. It's the 89th overall selection, and a sixth-round pick in exchange for a Dolphins first and a Dolphins seventh. So the Browns move all the way up to 18 from 26, and they select JOK. And what I love about JOK, in my Parsons JOK video, I love the fact that JOK was amazing in pass coverage. He's got elite closeout skills. He plays both fast and physical, and he hunts the football with aggression and power for his size. Now, obviously, he's not the biggest linebacker, but I love his game, how he plays, transitioning from that safety to that linebacker spot. He's been exceptional at it, and I think you'd be a great quarterback for our defense. So at 18, I got the Browns selecting Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Now, at pick 19, this kind of hurts the Washington football team because the Washington football team could have really used a linebacker there. But it's not that big of a deal because I think they take Tevin Jenkins, who is the offensive tackle out of Oklahoma State. I think he's got a wide frame, great body control. He can hold blocks for that second level. He's got strong, sure hands. And this is kind of another guy that you could put at left or right tackle, preferably left. I think it would be great to protect the blind side of whoever's going to start. Is it Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Heineke, whatever we see transpires over the summer. But Tevin Jenkins would be my selection here. Now, as we scroll down, 3 more picks here. At pick 20, the Bears, they don't go quarterback. They don't take a receiver alongside Allen Robinson. Just not, anything flashy. But I do think they take a guy that tries to replace Kyle Fuller and Greg Newsome out of Northwestern. So he stays, in Illinois, just a couple minutes down the road in Chicago. And with Greg Newsome, I loved his tape. He allowed only a 31% completion percentage. He is amazing in press coverage despite only being 6 feet, and he's great in run support. And I believe he only allowed a dozen catches all year. So Greg Newsome is amazing. I think this is, as PFF said, A grade. I agree. I think this is a great pickup for them, trying to replace Kyle Fuller and just adding to that already stellar defense. And at pick 21, the Indianapolis Colts select 6'2" receiver Rashad Bateman out of Minnesota. I think he's the second best route runner in this class. He's got pro-ready hands, and he's great after the catch. And for a team led by Carson Wentz, you want to surround him with weapons. Simple as that. And I think now that you get Rashad Bateman here, you can put Bateman and Pittman on the outside and T.Y. Hilton in the slot, who's obviously getting up there in age. Maybe make that similar Larry Fitzgerald transition. Larry Fitzgerald, as he got up in age, transitioned to the slot and still had a couple seasons with 1,000 yards. So I think that could be a great situation for T.Y. Hilton. Bateman gives them that opportunity, and I think that's the pick here. Now, at pick 22, the Tennessee Titans go with Elijah Moore, wide receiver out of Ole Miss. And as you can see, PFF also gives that an A grade because I think that whole Ole Miss connection, with A.J. Brown, I'm sure A.J. Brown would love to have, one of his guys there. He finished the season with 3 games averaging 200 yards in all 3 games. That is incredible. He's got strong hands, and he is great in the red zone because of how shifty he is at 5'9". And that also gives this team a slot receiver because you have A.J. Brown on the outside, Josh Reynolds on the other side, and Elijah Moore becomes that third slot receiver that can really, fill in that Adam Humphries type role, but just a little bit better because of how elusive and shifty he can be. So we're going to scroll down here, 3 more picks, And at pick 23, I know Jack's smiling somewhere when I give them Jalen Phillips, edge rusher out of Miami. Now, we're not talking Greg Rousseau here. We're actually taking Jalen Phillips because he had 6.5 sacks his final 4 games. And obviously just a little bit more recency bias because we've seen him closer to this draft. Closing burst to the quarterback. He's a great run defender. And I actually think he's probably the most polished run defender in this class. I think he's got the least questions. So I think here the Jets will say, okay, least questions, came from Miami, big time school. So that's what we're going to take. And at 24, I got the Steelers taking Najee Harris. I did a video on Najee and Travis Etienne. For Najee Harris, he's got the potential to be a 3-down back. He's a power runner that can be very elusive at the second level, and he is an excellent pass blocker. He reminds me a lot of Le'Veon Bell, especially when he was on the Steelers. And this is a great replacement for James Conner. This is a true number 1 back, and the Steelers could really use that at pick 24. Now, at pick 25, this is the Jacksonville Jaguars' second first-round pick. There were a lot of options that I was thinking here. They could have gone tackle. They could have gone receiver. A lot of options, but I think they take, not necessarily the best player available, but definitely the best player at his position in Trevon Moehrig. He's got anticipation of throws. He's very good at it. The safety out of TCU was great in various coverage schemes, and he's a very talented ball tracker. So he's great in zone coverage. And as you can see, PFF kind of agreed with me there, giving me an A+. So now we go to the Dolphins pick. We'll just highlight that for a second. As you can see, the trade details. And I think the Dolphins here, they trade back again, doing this move, getting more assets. But they take Christian Barmore here. Very strong and aggressive during pass plays. He's the best defensive tackle in this draft. Obviously coming from Alabama, he's got that Alabama type of pedigree. He can handle double teams, and he's a very forceful tackler in the run game. So now we'll go down, to the next 3 picks. And at pick 27, we've got Landon Dickerson, center out of Alabama for the Baltimore Ravens. And I think this is a little bit of a reach now. This is one of those surprising picks. You would maybe think receiver here, or maybe an edge rusher. But, Landon Dickerson, obviously coming off an ACL, I know, but he was the quarterback of the Alabama's offensive line, plays NFL caliber football as a guard and a center, and he is great in pass protection. And obviously we saw the problems that the Ravens had with their center. I believe it was Matt Skura. So there's a little bit of questions of who's going to be that guy for Lamar Jackson. Trust me, a QB center chemistry is huge. And I think Landon Dickerson would be a great guy to fill that void. He doesn't necessarily need to be the best blocker. He's got guys like Ronnie Stanley, and I believe the Ravens are about to sign Alejandro Villanueva. So they're getting guys back, but Dickerson could play guard or center, and I think that's great versatility as a young guy for the Baltimore offensive line. Now, at pick 28, the New Orleans Saints are going to go with Kwity Paye, the edge rusher out of Michigan. And the reason for this pick, there were a lot of ways I could have gone. I could have gone receiver. I could have gone corner. In some mock drafts, I actually had Greg Newsome falling all the way here to 28, but the Bears just couldn't pass him up there. But for Kwity Paye, he's very explosive. He's got rare quickness, and he's very good pursuit speed for his size. He's a little bit hefty, but he can push and hurry the quarterback in the pocket. And for the Saints specifically, with the loss of Trey Hendrickson, this is a perfect scenario for Kwity Paye, who's more of a project. But if you pair him alongside Cam Jordan, this is an excellent opportunity for him to thrive. And I think the Saints would really get a lot, a quote unquote buck for their money if they take Kwity Paye here. It would help them on all 3 phases of their defense, both in their front 7 and in their secondary. So that is the pick I decided. Now at pick 29, the Green Bay Packers select Florida receiver Kadarius Toney. And this is actually one of my favorite picks. I've stressed so many times how Devontae Adams is the lone wolf up there in Green Bay and how Aaron Rodgers needs another guy. So they finally give him one. Now, I was thinking of Terrence Marshall, and I feel like a lot of Packers fans would question me on that. But Terrence Marshall is a big, strong guy, but they already have Devin Funchess coming back, and a lot of people forget about that. So I went with Kadarius Toney here over Rondale Moore because I think Toney has a little bit more of that NFL size. I don't know how 5'7" will last in the NFL. Now, Kadarius Toney is very similar to Rondale Moore, 4'3", 40, very good hands, insane after the catch. I would say this is the best receiver after the catch in the entire draft class, and I'm including the big 3 of Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Waddle. Kadarius Toney, is very physical on one-on-one balls. He's only 6 foot, but again, one of the best receivers I've seen after the catch. And you can argue he benefited playing alongside Kyle Pitts, but I think he's one of the most talented receivers in this draft class, and I'm very excited for this pick. This was a little bit of my bias, but I also think the Packers got to go receiver at 29. Now, we kind of rounded out with the final 3 picks here. At pick 30, the Buffalo Bills are going to take Asante Samuel Jr., cornerback out of Florida State. They need a guy, to pair alongside Tre'Davious White, and this is the guy. He's got great closing distance to crowd receivers. He's 5'10", so he doesn't necessarily need to be that tall because Tre'Davious White's kind of got that number 1 receiver who's usually the bigger one. But he's got great balance and footwork, and I think he's very talented. Being from Florida State, we've seen guys like Jalen Ramsey immediately come in and be a stud. So he's got that kind of Florida State tree we're kind of banking on here. And I think PFF kind of agreed giving me an A- for that pick. Now, at pick 31, this is obviously updated. So the Ravens have this selection from the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is where I think they go a receiver with Terrace Marshall Jr. He played that number 1 role for LSU with Jamar Chase being out. He had 10 touchdowns. He's got a strong big frame at 6'3", 205 pounds. He's got a very wide catch radius. And for a guy like Lamar Jackson who needs, that quote-unquote number 1 receiver, maybe make Hollywood Brown slide over to the slot, this is the guy to go with. Terrace Marshall Jr. I think would make a very, very good fit up there in Baltimore. And now the final pick, my final pick of this mock draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Gregory Rousseau, edge rusher out of Miami. 15.5 sacks as a freshman, great technique at the line of scrimmage, insane athleticism. With the Bucs, there's really no huge position of need, so they kind of get that talented project that could, honestly fill up the role of Ndamukong Suh, who's probably gone, sooner rather than later. And I think Gregory Rousseau is very young. He's very talented. And I think Todd Bowles would make an NFL star out of him. So that is my 2021 first round mock draft. Let me know what you guys think. Were there any picks or trades that you really liked or any picks that you disagreed with? Please let me know in the comments below. I will respond to all of them. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Anish from The Cold Hard Truth, and we will see you next time.